Thank you very much. So, hi everyone, good afternoon. I'm going to be talking about the development of a speaking test. And just to give a little background to this, first of all, in 2019, we decided to reintroduce a speaking test as part of our assessment. And after having gone through the whole process of developing a speaking test, we could see that the actual development of the test, of a speaking test, is very challenging compared to developing other tests because of all the different elements and things involved in developing a speaking test. And one of the ways that to overcome and manage all these challenges is to see the development of a speaking test as a cycle. And here it is. So in this session, I'm going to be talking about the development of a speaking test using the cycle. And depending on time, hopefully I'll have an opportunity to show you examples of all the components of the speaking test using the speaking test that we developed, I guess, depending on time. So as you can see in the middle there, we have the test specs. Now the test specs connect all parts of the cycle, and they are considered to be like a blueprint for the development of the test for test writers. So they contain all of the information that test writers need in order to write a test. Okay, so things like timing, how many parts, the kind of tasks, and examples of tasks as well. But they also provide useful information for teachers, examiners, and admin officers. And the specs are constantly added to and updated during the development of the test. And speaking of the development, that's where we go to next. And there are a few things that are included in test development. These are obviously making the tests and making the tasks for the tests, but it also includes the marking criteria, the administration, and the test procedures as well. So when you're developing a speaking test, obviously you need to include tasks, and you need to consider using tasks that are suitable for the course learning outcomes. You also need to think about tasks that will suit the student's needs and the context as well. If you're looking for inspiration for the kind of tasks that you can use, you can look at other speaking tests for this. But you also have to have lots of tasks created, lots of tasks developed, not only for the tests themselves, but also for standardization, the pilot, and practice tests. You need to develop marking criteria, and the marking criteria needs to be practical, so hopefully it'll all fit into one page. It needs to be usable, so the descriptors are clear and concise for the examiner to be able to use during the test. They need to include the aspects of speaking that you want to assess your students on, and they should be linked to proficiency levels as well, like the CEFR. The administration, this needs to be carefully planned and organized due to all the different parts and the number of people involved. Obviously, you haven't just got examiners and the students, but you've also got admin officers in holding rooms, and you also might have floaters in corridors as well. So it's important to develop procedures for all these different people. So for the examiners, the admin officers, and the floaters, that will help guide the administration of the test. Okay, so we're going to move on to the next part, and the next part isn't exactly a one of the main components, but it is a very essential part of the test cycle. So you have developed your test, but you're not sure how it works until you've actually tried it. So the pilot is really, really important. And it needs to be done with an appropriate sample of the test population. Okay, so a range of levels, a range of students. It also needs to be done using the exact same admin procedure that you want to follow for the real test. And you can use it to evaluate all parts of the speaking test, from the examiner's script to the tasks, the timing, to how you're going to record the tests, how you're going to be asking the examiners to record the grades, if the marking criteria works. And from the pilot, you can finalize all aspects of the test. So from the pilot, you also need to think about training, okay, training of the examiners. So you need to have a standardization for the examiners. And this is obviously not only important for showing them how they need to be grading the speaking tests, but it also helps them to know about the procedures as well. So as it's a speaking test, you need to have videos, and these videos should include, again, a range of levels and students. You need to have reports which explain and justify the grades and the students' performance. And the standardization must be easily accessible to the examiners. So this could be on an LMS, so you can have your standardization there, but you can also have other information about your speaking test, so the test specs, the marking criteria, the practice test, and the test procedures. Okay, so we move on to the actual administration, and as I said, this needs a lot of careful planning and organization for all the people that are involved. So for the examiners, you need the test packs, which includes the actual tests, the marking criteria, and how they're going to be recording the grades. You might also need to think about the recording devices that they're going to use to record the test. For the admin officers, you need a schedule for the number of students, the time the students are going into the test rooms and which test rooms they're going into. You need to have information for the floaters who are going to be in the corridors and their procedures for how they're going to be managing students in and out of the classrooms. Your test rooms need to be set up for the speaking tests, and you should have chairs outside the room so the flow of students in and out of the room is quick. You also need to think about the timing. So with how many students you have for the test, how many shifts do you need, how many examiners, and how many admin officers and floaters as well. Okay, so after the admin of the test, you will get the results, and you'll need to analyze the grades of the students. Now, the initial analysis can be done by the assessment team or the test coordinator, and you can quickly check any of the grades that seems rather high or perhaps low for the level of the students, or any unexpected grades. And these can be checked using the recording of the test. And this is obviously one of the benefits of the recording. You can check have analysis of the examiners, see how they have performed. So maybe you want to have a look at the average of their scores or the range of scores that they were giving. And you need to be checking the performance of the students, okay, and again, according to the level, the range of scores, and how they have done. So after the results, another component, which is not obviously a major component, but it is an important part of the cycle. And this is getting feedback. Now, you should be getting feedback from the people, all the people who are involved in the test, okay? And the feedback can be done using like a survey. And you should have feedback categories that people involved in the test can answer, all right? So for the administration, you need parts that the admin officers and the floaters can answer. And you also need information categories were on the tests, the procedures, and the tasks that can be answered by the examiners.
Sorry, Jason, you have 5 minutes. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Amy.
Thanks.
And once you have the feedback and you administered the test and you've done the analysis, then the administration of the test plus the feedback, this can feed back into changes to the test, changes that will hopefully make the test better. And the analysis of the grades and the feedback again from the examiners, this can go into training, making sure that the test is as valid as possible because of the marking. And obviously, once that goes back into, that feeds back into the test development, and so the cycle starts again. Now, like I said, I want to very, very quick. I can see I've got 3 minutes, so I just quickly want to show you. Hang on a second. Sorry, this is the part that I didn't obviously practice during the. Okay. All right, can you see that? Okay.
Yes,
so thanks, Amy. Thank you. Got there in the end. So these are examples of the test specs, and as I said, this covers all the information that is needed in order to create a test. Okay, so you have information about the test taker. I'm going to have to go through all this very quickly. It's the number of parts, the time for each part. Okay, the target language situation, language skills that you're testing. So you can see the reason why it is so detailed is because obviously it's going to be useful for the people who are writing the test, the rubrics there, what kind of formatting is needed in the test, how the test is going to be scored, the different criteria you're going to use for the marking, how you're going to administer the test, okay, and the performance. We're running out of time here, so we have to go for this quickly, and then examples as well that the test developers can see there. Okay, this is an example of the test that we created in 2019 for our A2 Plus course. Okay, so it had 2 parts. First part was an interview between the examiner and the student, and the second part was a communicative part between the 2 students. Okay, well, that's quite familiar to similar to tests that you've probably seen before. Okay, and then moving on to the marking criteria that we use. So as you can see, this all fits on one page. It's linked to the CFR levels. We have different aspects of speaking that we wanted to test, and we hope that it's clear and concise that the examiners can see. And then we also have the speaking test procedures there as well for the examiners, people in the admin, and floaters as well. And unfortunately, I can see that I am out of time, so I will have to finish there. And if you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer them later on. So thank you very much.
Lovely. Thank you very much, Jason, for that informative presentation. We can see a lot goes into testing.